Good morning, my friends. It's August 15th. Do you know who your president is? I'm going to ask you every day because nobody knows. Where's Joe Biden? Where is he? Who is the president? Who's running this thing? Thought I'd ask. Here's where I start. Want to spend some more time today on the very strange pick of the governor of Minnesota to be Kamala Harris's running mate. I mean, Tim Walz is so far left he makes Kamala seem almost normal. Almost. Think about that for a second. Let's start with this question. Does Tim Walz know the Middle East is not part of the Midwest? Or China, for that matter? Not that he knows or cares, because he's as anti-democratic as any Middle Eastern extremist and as extreme as any Democrat in history. He's also as unqualified as he is unfit. He combines the ineptness of Kamala Harris with the incompetence of Joe Biden. It's really quite a combination. But for an accident of geography, but for the fact that he is from the Midwest, there's nothing Midwestern about him. Except for the lies said in defense of Walz's extremism, his policies really are indefensible. And except for President Trump's improvisational style for how he campaigned of late, Walz's candidacy would be late, and his political career would be dead, rightfully so. If we're to defeat Kamala Harris, we have to start with Tim Walz. We have to reveal the truth about his record and reveal the extent to which he has misrepresented or lied about that record over and over and over. Bear in mind, Walz's campaign is one long campaign pledge by claiming to be of the Midwest, by conflating politics with place. Walz seeks to place himself in the middle of the political spectrum. He seeks to look and sound like a middle American. His campaign, however, rests on a false premise, a negative stereotype about residents of the heartland, i.e., they're too gullible or dumb to know what Walz is, which is an extremist. It's from this premise that Walz's false pretense to moderation follows. But facts, as they say, are just stubborn things. And yet Walz's record remains the record of his votes as a congressman, the record of his betrayal of the voters of Minnesota, the record of his attempts to avoid answering questions about his record. All of this remains. In fact, Harris and Walz answer no questions at all about anything, ever. Only by not talking about his record can Walz hope to come across as a moderate, and yet he is no talker. He lacks the skills to be a great communicator. All of which is to say, President Trump should talk more about Walz's extremism. Serious about that. Just as we know what President Trump wants to do, just as we know what he is for, so he must explain what he is against. Listen to this.
Tim Walz is the man who's very freakish. He's very freakish. If Comrade Walz and Comrade Harris win this November, the people cheering will be the pink-haired Marxists, the looters, the perverts, the flag burners, Hamas supporters, drug dealers, gun grabbers, and human traffickers. But with a Trump-Vance victory, the cheers will come from the police officers, the firefighters, the border patrol agents, the steelworkers, foremen, soldiers, parents, and hard-working citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed.
Yeah, only by highlighting how extreme Walz is and by emphasizing how leaderless America is right now. And only by telling the truth about this White House and its failing policies can President Trump return to it. He has to explain what's wrong here. And Tim Walz is an easy target. Explain how dangerous it is to have Joe Biden roaming the White House or Kamala Harris running it can boost President Trump and save us from another extremist like Tim Walz, who would be worse, I swear, based on everything that I have learned in the short time that he's been out there, Tim Walz would be worse than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Remarkable, I realize. In short, only by staying on message can voters get the message that President Trump should be our next commander-in-chief, period. President Trump has a winning message on the economy, on the border, and in J.D. Vance, who is actually a Midwesterner. J.D. Vance is actually a Midwesterner, born and raised partly in Kentucky, partly in Ohio, Middletown. And unlike Walz, Vance does not have to evade or embellish his record. He doesn't have to hide his record or hide behind his false military ranks, nor does he have to sidestep questions about his record. He answers them every day. Vance doesn't have to waltz, if you will, in a different direction because of his record. He doesn't have to pretend he's someone else from somewhere else to earn our respect. He doesn't have to do anything except speak and be authentic like this.
Tim Walz is a person, again, who promoted rioters burning down the biggest city in his state. Tim Walz is a person, again, who promoted rioters burning down the biggest city in his state.
That's right. Promoted it. And all J.D. Vance has to do is tell the truth about it. To win the White House, you have to win the Midwest. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. The region, after all, produces presidents. Harrison, Lincoln, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, McKinley, Taft, Truman, and Ford all hail from the Midwest. The names include the great and the good, three of whom gave the last full measure of devotion, for they were shot, they were assassinated while in office. President Trump knows this too because he dodged a bullet, literally. Well, it nipped him, but it didn't kill him. President Trump did not survive to have Kamala Harris succeed him. The nation won't survive. He says that at his rallies, but it seems so true. The greatness of America will not endure if Harris is president or Tim Walz is first in line for presidential succession. To speak these truths, to speak them plainly, is to speak as a Midwesterner. Tim Walz doesn't speak the language. To Walz, the language of America is a foreign language. He doesn't speak the language of natural rights or defend speakers who cite the Bill of Rights. The Declaration of Independence seems to be beyond him. The Constitution beneath him. The Pledge of Allegiance irrelevant to him. The simple but profound phrases of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the words of the First Amendment, the principles of America first, the ideals of duty, honor, country. Tim Walz doesn't speak this language. He is, however, fluent in the language of denial and doublespeak. He speaks the language of mostly peaceful protests. He speaks the language of Antifa and BLM. He speaks the language of Ilhan Omar, which is the language of Hamas and the liturgy of jihad. He speaks the language of extremism like this.
Well, listen, it's not surprising. Both Kamala and Tim Walz are hard left. They have radical left records, so it's a good pairing in one sense. They both represent the same thing. I actually thought the perfect illustration of just how terrible this pick was is within seconds of it coming out, Ilhan Omar sent out a tweet of her and Tim Walz arm in arm saying what a fantastic choice it is. This is a nod to the left wing of the Democrat Party. This is a nod to the open borders, to the abolish the police, the crazy side of the Democrat Party.
It certainly is, and we'll continue to expose it for what it is after the break here. Good morning. It's the Steve Gruber Show.